playing footsie down there and being distracted from the debate.
Yeah, Hardy.
Sorry, Seth.
That was good.
I just miss you. I never get to see you.
Wow.
Don't forget the plan.
I'll try.
Chicken dinner.
I'm not doing this.
Is my presence now just like constant reminder?
It's actually just almost every affirmative debate this year. I
actually-
said, do not forget the plan.
Will you set a timer for 8:40, please?
I swear to God, if you forget the plan.
I won't. I'm not going to forget.
I'm just gonna go on record and say that if you forget the plan,
Do you just have it set?
probably just gonna vote negative, irrespective of what else happens in the debate. So
You said that before, and then
no, but I mean this time as a result of the last time.
Yeah.
It'll just have to be a karma thing. It won't be personal.
Yeah. Deal.
Remember the
it's hard to see this not personal.
this is extremely quiet.
So this is extreme, and that's
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like if there's not a plan, if this is what I get, there's supposed to be a plan. There's not. You also should remind them to that you.
Look, debate's changing. Good idea.
Okay. Is anyone not ready?
Yeah, does somebody keep you time?
Got it.
Nope.
Alright, I guess I'm ready.
I'm setting one for 8:40. He will not be out of time when that goes out.
Got
He
it.
just needs to read the plan.
Anyone not good? Advantage towards China, U.S. President Mongolia, Biden's Amber separatists versus civilian conflict decline 14 rule of U.S. base. Mongolia particularly short Amber separatists home to a large minority in American influence could circle potential for enemies where if the U.S. were military criminal promise events and Mongolia leads to greater extensions to circlement. Acquisition indicates that extension between force taking endorse military ties statement. Essentials in the spies of Chinese civil that's overtures Mongolia placed within a wall of allies. Mongolia will guard Chinese influence. Amber separatist escalates movements elsewhere in China. Will explode a moon. 11 kilometers quickly in Mongolia has been peaceful since due to unresting harmony has been superficial incident highlights big problems. These hoping to see Chinese stabilize this as new open and unrest in Mongolia will be exploited by independence and Xinjiang, Taiwan, elsewhere. If the tensions are exploited, it's sparking major unrest for China. China will crack down with WMD's Brexit. Global table will cause nuclear war on 10. The WMD could use nurse technical wars that the authorities could use against. Sessions never attempt to maintain the integrity. China has a nuclear chemical capabilities and would use every means to prevent Mongolia from exceeding use when undermining taboos and potential to national security conflict spread. Other groups will be pressed for more autonomy. Uprisings disrupt REEs. IMARS are key. Volvo and 12D. RARs have been permanent China as emerges unsupported reach or BGS and breaking receives the risk of breaking base of political stability, likely size disruptions or human factors of politics and investors strikes industry should be concerned. Extinction, Graham and 15. Inner Mongolia is a necessity or lives independent on Earth elements or east dependent everything from cell phones, computers, automobiles, energy. Only places where have a high enough concentration to worth mining. The Inner Mongolia 94% are mine now. Price volatility independently wrecks satellites. Part of 111 price spikes affect industry has actual accuracy network records about the future drive. The church's global conditions are for dramatically hinder our ability to purchase it. In a forecast analyst pinpoint China's sources benefits as long as the list for pricing reasons the U.S. military defense and global supply chain equipment includes space assets. The dual use nature means that supply chains are higher risk owing to fragmentation or threatening nature access to minerals considering dependence on satellites. Satellites prevent extinction. Johnson and 9. The satellites connect the remote locations to Great War, making it impossible to hide armies and indispensable to American troops with playing critical role in monitoring environmental problems benefits, making humanity civilization capable of surviving. China fears U.S. presence will box out NATO, crushes relations. Heiberg in 15 years really fixed by China's perception of Mongolia, risk of setting the balance. The China will react to measures to prevent Denmark from engaging too much defensive impact in relations to China. China should concern about Mongolia's relationship with the U.S. geopolitical reasons fear that Mongolia is put on the U.S. chessboard. The insurgent leads to China to enact measures to limit NATO's relations with partners in the neighborhood. Mongolia is key Parian in 9 U.S. Mongolia military corporations controls by China due to strategic importance. Mongolia has become the object of a power struggle. The debating cause has drawn on China's attention. American military best Mongolia constitutes a challenge with that. A base was taken a step forward. The Mongolia will become a new regional beneficiary. It will have negative effects on stability throughout the region. Sensitivities particular acute because it will be relative to Taiwan. If the president too influential, it means it's being encircled. The handling correctly with the two chain reaction that would affect stability prospects depend on perceptions. Declining China-NATO cooperation triggers existential impacts. Hanzhan inside territorial context between China and NATO can solve the problems uncertainty magnified by terrorist organizations, ethnic rivalries, competition for resources, global problems, such as regional hotspots, pollution, smuggling, and diseases. The minimized this conclusion certainly welcome to improve engagement with NATO. Any factor to encouraging the Asian version of NATO will lead to complications of security situation. Sources of instability are India, Pakistan, and Norco. Though a nuclear weapons war and attention resolution separate from China's cooperation in the next years would be a critical period for China and NATO. Will we decide this transition if there is cooperation, insecurity will be reduced. NATO-China relations solve Mediterranean conflict escalation. Lin in 14 NATO partnerships will become more relevant in the Mediterranean year. Feared explosion of energy disputes. China footprint presents an opportunity to form a cohesion strategy to focus on crisis management, stabilize the MENA region. China could benefit cooperation and security such as terrorism, piracy, and WMD maritime security is an issue given interest in gas engaging. China will help the U.S. firmly anchor reassure allies an opportunity to help burden sharing in the maritime commons. World War III, Jacobs and 11. World War III is a very real threat. The regional conflict can spark conflict broader scale, even World War III. Greece has military lines with Israel, Russia, Goodwill swing Iran, Syria, and Lebanon would force Turkey's hand NATO member. But pro-Islamist advantage too is Russia. Uranium rights in Mongolia are unclaimed, but are up in the air. Russia is pushing hard for access. Klar into a tug war over Mongolia's uranium deposits. Russia overseas. Large quantities of untapped uranium. The officials have under enormous pressure to Moscow to give the mind to the Russian firms. It remains uncertain. While most seek to preserve autonomy, Mongolia can defend key decisions will be governed by geopolitical considerations. Mongolia will deny Russia control now, but needs diplomatic space provided by U.S. security ties. Also, the United States very pressed by neighbors desire close relations with the U.S. to provide some breathing room. Possess enormous uranium deposits. Mongolia sits easily and is searching for help from the U.S. to maintain economic independence. Russia has moved to make Mongolia a satellite. Washington play the role of third neighbor, expanding security relations to deny control over Moscow's security incentives to persuade Mongolia set to retreat. They'll hold off granting primary access now. That blocks expansion of Russian nuclear power. Blanket 9. The Kremlin's making a push to restore relations, but it may not be possible. Mongolia has tried to carefully to balance Moscow and Mongolia as particular other powers, particularly the U.S. Given discoveries of important raw materials like uranium, the country is already assuming a greater role of interdependence from Russia. The path was proximity close to uranium. Russia is trying to gain primary access to it so it can utilize uranium to the development of its own nuclear industry. Russia wants to corner Mongolia's market and may build new nuclear energy plants. While Mongolia is interested, they expect Ulaanbaatar to keep ties strong with other states. China's influence is still far larger. Uranium shortages are coming, will ruin Russian nuclear power. Mongolia's key lead 11. Russia is where the uranium cupboard will be bare. Future includes a spike in the price. Is no longer depressed by downwards. There will be a shortfall. Is just a result of experience depletion after the legacy peace activity is gone. Russia is well positioned to become a prime player in the nuclear industry. One thing that Russia does not have is domestic or access to important ores. A key to keeping the Russian refineries humming and profitable. Mongolia has a major uranium in play reserves of 25,000 ton. Russia covers Dornod as a single infrastructure extraction refining that signals the economies of scale. Payday was of importance to Putin's comrades who pull the strings in state-controlled industries and whose containment is critical to Putin's well-being. Weak domestic industry erodes the Russia's nuclear weapons complex. Also destroys icebreakers. File 1114. There are some reasons for Russia's developing regional nuclear resources. Icebreakers. One nuclear power, growing power ensures the development. An important reason is security exists in the strong civilian sector ensures effective operations of its own weapons complex in order to keep the dual purposes enterprise busy. For nuclear power has allowed Russia to retain a ship reactor technology used to expand the icebreaker fleet. Important for the northern sea route. Nuclear power is important for Russia to maintain a new military readiness, keeping up with the latest tech, keeping thousands of Russian scientists employ nuclear war via accidental launch. Blair intended for nuclear war not to appear. U.S. and Russia thousands of warheads on high alert, ready to launch on warning. There are ingredients for accident miscalculation as escalation risks are heightened by the economic collapse in the nuclear weapons complex. Brain drain causes terrorism, escalates to extinction. Species and takes out a large complex in Russia. Close results as nuclear scientists are becoming underpaid, raising the prospect that these will be able to sell knowledge or materials which will states or takes a terrorist organization. The consequence will be devastating. There will be immense political pressure the U.S. to retaliate, triggering a full-scale nuclear conflict. Russia icebreakers are key to polar science. Shimagov enriching the Russian geographic position. The Arctic is no regional matter can be dealt without Moscow's active engagement and support. About Russia covers half of the territory challenge originating from climate change. The ecosystem will only be restored through a concerted effort. Otherwise, global headaches. Russia will not develop without the appropriate transition and stars of strategic importance. The Russian scientists have the boost of vast experience. The Arctic researchers have made a sizable contribution. Extinction, Huntington in 13. The getting information decision makers require comprehensive data info. Shorten time between decision makers and effective policy response. Biodiversity is irreplaceable. Ecological asset. Biodiversity provides innumerable services. Birds fly to every continent, contributing to global health. The species provide the foundation for webs, for food webs and ecosystems. Part of life on Earth, the ecosystems are connected to climate and to manage driven new area of activity. The future requires decisive conservation. Stronger Russia-Mongolia energy ties prod Japan to cede its claims to the Kuril Islands. Korbakov enforcing Russia-Mongolia is a key that unless relations with Korea has resource Ukrainians by bridging the geographic divide. The Russia stands to be able to gain. Russia wants more active presence. Korea, especially as Mongolia has untapped coal deposit. The one breakthrough result would be a creation of Russia-Korea partnership. The partnership would take on a large significance, demonstrate effective movement energy trade could convince recalcitrant Japan to concede its Kuril Islands claims in exchange for a similar much-needed deals. While Kuril conflicts are coming, they escalate to global nuclear war. Chafkov enforcing Moscow now exercising Kuril Islands club. Japan military units have been deployed. No safeguards to prevail like diplomacy's collapse. The U.S. will not win a war with the danger of confrontation will lead to nuclear are knocking down power. Nuclear are now considered last resort under MAD. Resolution is key to Russia-Japan relations. Solves multiple existential threats. Miller and 12. The Asian security has become fragile with landmines including Korea. Central Asia terrorism and no crime. Australian partnership between Tokyo and Moscow makes that future sense of questions. She helps prevent the partnership from expanding due to the dispute of the Kuril Islands. So whether any chance of a deep partnership Kurils continue to weaken engagement. Russia has the ability to act as an interlocator between North Korea. Most wish to send a message to China, Japan, and Russia working together further to disarm data, nuclear, arsenal, trafficking, proliferate. Japan can lend expertise and combine Russia's experiences. A partnership would work on most collateral initiatives. Both strive but recognize difficulties due to the Kuril rose now. It's time for a grand bargain in the Kuril Islands. Withdrawal undercuts the perception of U.S. backing seeds. Economic control to Russia bets give in 12 America made Mongolia's best lifetime balance. Power proceeded on. A high military presence decline would alter this framework and cause a serious realignment. Lessening presence might signal a redirection of U.S. military participation in Mongolia is dependent on outside forces abandonment. 2. Russian economic rotation pool would become counter. Having boots on the ground provides visual evidence of U.S. commitment to Mongolia. Presence is critical for Mongolia to deny Russian claims border to the most support factor in Mongolia-US relations are really violating their neighbor policy. Power seen as essential in balancing Russia and maintaining Mongolian independence. Mongolia views this coercion the U.S. as its major priority. The overarching theme is that the interdependence Mongolian involvement is not welcome due to offset coercion by Russia. Economically, U.S. military support buildup is based on interdependence for fear of coercion. It looks to the U.S. for support for Mongolia's military. I'm just going to say the plan in case is that the United States should remove state partnership program forces from Mongolia. The plan removes SPP National Guard forces from Mongolia. That's key to President Justin 15D. Partnership involved the ANG and Mongolia involved strategic partnership paired under the SPP to couple countries states to ensure U.S. access and state progress. Alaska, Mongolia share the mineral wealth Mongolia sandwich between as supportive of the U.S. Mongolia realize the benefits of equal partner interests values of the international was far greater than it would otherwise. The conquest section of Mongolia is that its cornerstone relationship and GUPI takes a leading role. Active personnel do not send the same planners every year. Guards develop stronger bonds, military relations, and become catalysts for the initiative. SPP is key. Appleton 13 partnership between Alaska and Mongolia represents the most interesting security ties program, strengthening military cooperation authority. Partnership with the areas tending to Alaska with Mongolia provide the inspired they share a mineral economy, social from ANG, participating exercise, participation provides expertise within enriching the security partnership about the ANG, move beyond military ties to strengthen other areas. Global withdrawal now.
Why doesn't Russia cause our separatists to get emboldened when they fill in?
The IMAR separatist argument isn't about Russia. The
Well, I
argument,
know, but it should be about Russia. I'm wondering why Russia's fill into Mongolia won't also spur IMAR
it's not like
separatism.
full Russia fill into Mongolia. Our argument is that it's a question of whether or not Mongolia will sell their uranium and coal deposits to Russia. They won't do it now because they feel they're too close to the United States. If they were to be done, then there's mineral cooperation.
Well, yeah, I mean, but Yurev is like when Mongolia starts getting pulled towards other great powers and it makes these IMAR separatists.
About the United States
Well,
in relation to
yeah.
China because
What's your
US
US
is
key
in
art?
relation to them.
What's your US? Yeah, explain the US key
one or
art.
two.
No, like this fill-in shit. I want to know what the US does that specifically empowers IMAR separatists that Russia won't do.
Yeah, the Klein evidence says that it emboldens Mongolia in the form of promises of defense and military training and cooperation more broadly.
Okie doke. So the.
That's the Klein evidence, by the way.
Yeah, no, I'm holding Klein. I just like don't think it says that.
No, I can read the line.
your-
It says,
300%.
if the U.S. were to sell military equipment or promise defense, and
But
embolden
that's
Mongolia
not.
could
That
lead to
doesn't make it
greater ethnic
exclusive.
tension.
An emboldened Mongolia. Why wouldn't Russia embolden Mongolia when they become an incredibly
Because
important
it's a
economic
discussion
player?
of the third neighbor policy, and the key choice is between the U.S. and China.
All right. So why does U.S. presence block Mongolia from giving all of like this uranium shit to Russia?
Our internal link evidence indicates that they feel like they are safe enough with the U.S. and they want to cooperate with the U.S. because of military presence. Without that presence there, they need a different third neighbor to cooperate with because they are landlocked. And really their only option, especially given Russia demands for Dornad, which is the uranium and REE's mine, is Russia.
The Podesky evidence is very good on that, on boots on the ground, and it even says America is Mongolia's best lifeline.
Okay, fair enough.
Y'all should use yours for this prep.
Yeah, I can talk to you.
I obviously didn't read Global Withdraw Now through the rest. It was
Yeah,
like
will you
reading
like
stuff.
just email the thing that you said?
I already
you
did.
It's
oh,
already
you did?
did.
Oh, done.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
But I
we
didn't like
can
delete the stuff that we didn't say.
Fair enough.
But I can.
Yeah, that's good.
What else do we have?
Yeah, that was like after all.
Or plant doesn't
Yeah,
understand.
yeah, yeah.
You don't need to read. You can nuke that.
Nuke this?
Yeah, that's good.
Uh,
Oh, where's that? Yeah, the plant's in the dock.
Yeah, it's at the very bottom of the dock, like the last thing.
Thanks.
is this okay?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, and then.
Oh, I have one other thing. Your like Klein evidence says that Hegel supported a strong U.S. partnership with Mongolia. Why?
It says that what?
It says Hegel supports a strong relationship with Mongolia. Why does he support that?
Because of like bilateral cooperation building, BCPs, I believe
Okay.
is the direct acronym for it.
Work.
Is this okay?
So just to be clear, most people in the military love the plan.
Okay, and then
Or
where I
simply
have
that cert from my insurance.
that's where I have this.
Yep.
I have a card on this.
Yep.
And then with this, how much of this?
Okay, so the first thing you gotta do is you gotta read.
Can you get over in case they say off and
Yeah, I'll take care of it. Yep.
It's 6 off and then advantage on it.
satellites.
And what is SPD?
The state partnership program. It's what we withdraw.
Advantage 1, advantage 2.
It's 612. Your flows are set up. That's the one.
Let me know when you're all good.
I'm all good.
Everyone else alright? Let's do it.
Topicality: military presence is defined as installations in large military formations. The act is about military access, status, and paragraph 89. 1. See base facility installation for military presence. Everything that falls in the headings of bases facility would be included. Large military formation brought as military access. This concept is two purposes. Overhead use of airspace, attack, military air, state, and humanitarian support, military management. Vote negative. Broad interpretations boot the topic. Around 15 definition of military presence for the government space. There deployed US military presence. We're going to use UAVs to strike targets. Other countries have some sort of American military presence. This is highlighting pretty much the entire world. Russian included with the D reports having 24 military personnel. Appropriations counterplan D legislative branch of the United States to defund state partnership program forces from Mongolia. The counterplan cuts funding for the AFRA moves that solve the case and strengthens congressional war powers. Also 13. Congress supported limit scope of houses may be extras limit military operation after the appropriate funds acquiesce in my critical powers. Congress is prerogative placing conditional rights of appropriation and implementing U.S. armed forces to survive challenges and instability. Congress war power and its power of appropriations. Nuclear war weapon 14. Major security challenges include Nazi terrorists, control of WD, Nate State, the admin and relying forces keep military crime and bringing in humanitarian crisis, reach our allies, credible military forces, significant element of U.S. strategy for deterrent China, and North Korean aggression averted, disciplining our leads, legislative institutions get enabled to more needed informed on unexecutive decisions regarding force president, the same will be more selective in issuing threats. Congress plans to create the nation's ability credibly convey result to enemies and allies for legislative enforcement with policy toward narrow commitments and potential role for Congress to apply international efforts to dialogue and produce opportunities for blessing credibility would be enhanced. Counterplan: the United States should take necessary steps to replace a significant amount of its land power military presence in Northeast Asia with land-based missile units. The counterplan has the Army focus on forward-based missile forces without reducing presence. Thompson 13 as the U.S. military's most labor-intensive force, the Army's most effective recognizing personnel convention wisdom, hold the Army will base the ground of defense concept decline in relevance convention wisdom. However, only prefer the Army feels of doubt and changing circumstances. The Army should focus ground infantry forces toward land-based missile defense. The Army should establish its own DDP system design regional hegemonic ability, British power. Base missile force could act both as shield, sword, striking, and directly from far off. These systems would help the U.S. allies different against Chinese aggression. Land-based missile force would have a number of advantages over air, sea, counterparts, even land, underground, fiber optic communication, rather than satellite communication, make them less for far deeper. Magazines and missiles, some sitting far apart. The Army would enhance deterrence and check roughly concerning their ability to protect power. Dissad: lack of an effective, forceful response to Middle East aggression is causing the GOP to garner support, reversing that narrative by demonstrating a large and effective force is key to get Clinton back in the game. Politically 16 attacks and Brussels refocus the agenda of the presidential race. The attacks of the presidential boost travel to target foraging proposals aided in the Trump cabinet support the proposals of being the resident of many primary voters with Clinton zeroing and the Democratic nomination Senate more like harder on Tuesday. The counterplan is necessary to get the Democrats back in the game, demonstrates an effective policy, demonstrating foreign and security policy plays a significant role in the election democracy, the Italy ground growth they tore down. The new challenges emerging militant Islamism, China and Russia dealing with our North Korea, rogue state pushing necessary doctrine preemption, the ongoing campaign offers what is the right response to American people instead of results of no bombs. Extinction 116 global to respond to the world's and the Trump, Russian and Chinese nationals and power fear agents believe to it. The EU lost its currency, what has been lost in the world of China's facing world leaders regarding anything in the post war period. They include second nuclear state regressive incident of neighbors, Pakistan and India are running Israel, North Korea in the world seeking to build nuclear arsenals, representative of climate change, building too late to stop the rise of oceans, the development from negotiations, the future of the Arctic with Russian unilateral militarized global everything so driven by massive destruction, never need to join action agreements. Something is done now. We find ourselves in a return to Cold War that would make the world cold and dead. Counterplan text: the United States should put an aircraft carrier in the Mediterranean and not promise to come to the defense of Mongolia and maintain current levels of military assistance. Solves 1AC. Klein evidence says conflict will occur if the U.S. increases military promises. Klein 14. If the United States were to sell military equipment to Mongolia, they promise to come to its defense in Bolton. Mongolia could lead to greater ethnic tensions in Inner Mongolia. Acquisitions, they said. Carter and Congress will reach a compromise over acquisition reform. Now Gold 16. As the chairman of the House and Senate Armed Services Committee planned legislative reforms, Carter's leading the proposal Senate just a few weeks. Some other proposals are aimed at giving services more and acquisition system in the area. Commonwealth lawmakers have applied for the committee. The Pentagon has two out heavy Thornberry McCain. Said they want to and people with the factor with proposal Carter now the leaders of Oberon Carter reader this was the service has a great state acquisition. I'm strongly favored without a standalone piece of acquisition reform legislation. Thornberry president failed. Police told us to defend these before Congress them in the defense policy bill. The stacks efforts are driven by McCain. He was prepared to say continue under read it. Although Republicans we work very closely. The plan is unpopular with McCain causes fight. Settler 14. McCain will be able to put the purge power to challenge the foreign policy agenda. He has been a non-dual anti-intervention that's making Oregon for the coming the voice of one new conservative Republicans. He believes the U.S. needs to maintain a foreign policy and cannot constrain national security. Chairman of the Armed Services Committee is an important point where he can play a big role in the debates for foreign policy, making him lieutenant leader of the and due security. Carter, Congress cooperation and agenda prioritization is key to acquisition reform. Gold 15 is Congress pressed ahead with the reform. The Pentagon would get ahead of the way. The goals of the critical over the agenda. They focus on new important things. 2016 set the table for further work to be done after that. Mexico with the agenda standing. Your power response to challenge action. Health community. I feel about that. Driven changes. One exists that the hill by and the key is engaging the community. People to expand what they're trying to do and find allies. McCain does not use that from Carter just conflicting. There's institutional bias and resistance. We try very hard to work with them. We realize because with the Lemons and more reform maintains U.S. military tech dominance. Politically 16 acquisition reform. performance potential, equally build the field of new capabilities. Open system architecture for allowing new capabilities to be added. Planning, especially for large costing programs like chip and place rapid innovation means avian upgraded a dozen times. Open system architecture lists and technological risk incorporate approach. Incorporate faster, cheaper capability upgrades. Open system architecture allows upgrades to be completely sparking innovation at lower cost. The current approach encourages a win at all costs when tailored companies underbid. Services will be encouraged to adopt an agile approach to experimentation to meet the capabilities gap. Currently, getting a new problem takes upward of 2 years, but taking our tech superiority maybe can't afford to wait that long. Capabilities to be able to rapidly fill the proposals will allow DT from greater competition to rapidly incorporate innovation, keeping our formal technological edge sharp. World War III, Helper in 15, warfare in the Middle East, and nuclear Iran and terrorism involving deputy threat in the U.S. with catastrophe, unlike server chaos, and currently leading World War hobby. Approaches in the military, the nuclear calculus, China, Russia, determine security approaches. The military, security of this country's American way, the terms of war, lines, as well as triple the defense industrial base. We have other towards there, keep them going to lose. Case, the security, the SPP is good, sustainable, and dope. Garcia 16, the program is becoming solid partnership and strengthening regional security of the world state powership program. Not everybody consistent ultimately to from sets and trust and because the partnership promotes long-lasting relations, support, delivery, training, maintenance of new equipment, fighting operations and their personnel with a focus on home peace and peacekeeping operations, ability operations, synchronizing the support of activities and activity solution. Forward presence is sustainable, prevents China war. The planned policy of restraining encourages aggression and collapses U.S. credibility. Garcia 16, the policy restriction be thrown to attribute history doing the bare minimum from the non-fight China president, the U.S. basing the aggressive course of action, defense and forcing allies to reconsider security. Vietnam is seeking a stronger partnership. I was working towards a stronger Japanese military with a record defense budget, correcting and plans to develop anti-accident and strategy leaders of with Canberra to acquire nukes, not just America, working to constrain China, but region whatever when the president decides America should abandon governments in Asia, however, allies in Europe and the Middle East respond what they trust. Our leaders big confront the Islamic State, our allies would consume the America white to walk into relations with better withdrawal the confront channels and sets with a great conflict. It wouldn't nurse China run to avoid any freshman taking our would tell you that is unlikely outcome. Walking away from Asia after the world was often failed to understand the tools American intelligence had the challenge basic calculus. The mission would be creating tremendous risk by pushing a harder American would simply withdraw nothing short of a recipe for disaster would anyone ever trust America's word again. Maintaining alliances through forward presence is key to prevent great power war, withdrawal destroys global credibility. Germany and the economy, Google 16, revisionist powers on the move using a strategy probing in China and Russia learning about one another pros the equal to the path of war. U.S. would be friendly with the great power war. They're both ready to build underutilized tool to dispose of alliances. Russia, China, and Iran have said to the U.S. retreating, but they are unsure how many restraint the U.S. as a solid community alliance is potentially use military president frontal and allies increase the potential to deliberate accidental military clash apps and a consistent credible U.S. overwatch allies engaging chaotic acquisition strategy like the successful approach that culminated in military confrontation have failed to see years of use to watch for what the culminates in nuclear attack without president's backers. Rivals would advertise their redundant and capable of the same competition global permanency. The first and foremost are leading part of the alliance revision, part of the weakened rising alliance. U.S. constructed with America stabilizing reassuring military president for various frontier region of likely to create follow to revision powers. No U.S. China war. 13. China and U.S. will not go to war today in the armed future will ever maintain peaceful association. You're starting to try to break the bond when it comes to security. China and the U.S. are interested in covert negotiations, increasing the strength of America, not launching new wars against powers in their possession of nuclear arms for 40 years. China and the U.S. proponents strength and multi-trust control differences of opinion relations have gone through wind and rain, but had developed onward. Higher leaders communicate freely, military leaders exchange business, global relations, give right to far-reaching influence on world peace and security when we're releasing. Promote the actual inherent goal, the new form of signing U.S. great power relations, circumvention, reducing presence will be delayed, implementation will be mangled by leaks and shirking. Fever 16. With the military responding, banning and treating allows most military leaders between them on deeply and why the military most obey the orders and implemented policy, but the Trump is proposing to be seen as undoing their professional careers, the textbook military to obey and wise legal orders, but senior military leaders will think that's what the military were sure fighting with to avoid carrying out the policies to historical records or with cases of military withholding inflow slowing and once the Congress and media to toward policies advantage too. They saw the Russian economy for all 14 transporting oil and gas to thermal power station across Russia logistically difficult and expensive, which makes supporting them even more cost effective and beneficial to the economy. Russian growth makes adventurous and great power war and state collapse and inevitable try or die. Russian economic crisis to transform the government. China 15. Russia to turn them on effect in 1914 with an aggressive war policy. Regime competition never known to see the after the Romans and the leading to part of domestic change to class ranges look like great power documentation. Government should focus on preventing direct competition with the U.S. Russia will be able to provide several war policies not just only internal failure. Russia needs an ability to prioritize domestic development to keep itself any kind of future West order. Well, sooner related to strategic failures, the state challenge for regime economic they could be further making longer to reach domestic changes that means equality for the law making governance all of the countries removing artificial obstacles to development improvement on foreign policy. If there is insufficient political comprehension to form an acute crisis, could trigger collapse sooner the better. Crisis gets key to transition to a post-Putin Russia alternative is adventurous and Putin model 16 the econ is free fall. Putin has passed his prime. Putin will start increasing on China. Chauvinism, imperialism, anti-Semitism, religion need the longer Putin season. Father, what seems to be some is with the possible instability and ground opposition is being most sharp and comes as a result. Deeper structural crisis, charismatic leaders emerge into inflation, unemployment, rise, dissatisfaction will grow, inflation, political, economic, will grow heavy. The willingness to get down, accountants, alternative Putin system will grow, overnight, intellectual pride, guidance, and economic decline prevents adventurous foreign policy, specifically in Donbass, as 16. Russia may face stagflation, and it would take up the fall in oil price 1981 to collapse the Soviet Union as goodness for Ukraine, anti-social policy hardly sustainable, the Russian GDP falls, and social protests growth, and criminal not to cut its defense expenditures, criminal likely to choose continuing war with China. Russia needs to get rid of the Donbass, convinced the U.S. to impose sanctions. Russia's economically be the opposite of the Putin. He might understand, he might be mad, started without the Donbass. Now goes nuclear, Martin 15, the only alternative for ending conflict in Donbass would be wage a Western proxy war, U.S. criminally breaking apart NATO through nuclear escalation might be a real possibility of Russia started losing. Economic decline, sparks privatization in Russia, try or die for sustainable growth, launch on 15. The economists have one reason, hidden resource, small and medium-sized businesses, they get compromise 150% of state role in the economy keeps growing the forces, private banks investing in infrastructure, compliance regulations, situation to be theoretically likely to come catastrophic pressure from the sector, second level of retail source cafes, reduce and launch private scale, and it's not standard chance of being important drivers economic development, but good private medical requires enormous capital investment, oil and gas, and activities of flows, kind of things that travel big average, face a catastrophe, suffer economic blockade, because changes in will cycles in air force, due to stagnation. As space and civil war, privatization is key to trust. Going 14, the situation created a maelstrom of vicious cycle of people not trust the government. The government's failure to make the courts independent, liberals, the media, Russian, increasing individual economic property rights, reducing the other countries that hold these developments are having dire consequences, including by revolution or potentially civil war.
Okay. Real quick, you read on like all this Russia DDEV stuff that eventually you result in long-term sustainable growth. You've also read an impact turn that generally Russia growth causes adventurism. Why is this a double turn? No, you did. The first card is like if Russia's economy is strong, they're adventurous.
That is from the same Carnegie report in which Modal makes the argument that Russia needs to undergo a quick crisis in order
That's
to
not
They're
true.
from the same report when they're from different authors in
One's
different.
one's Trutchen and then one is like
One's
Yeah,
also
Trutchen and
from,
Woodall are
one's
making the
from
same argument.
March and one's from December. These are not from the same fucking report.
Okay, it's not the same report, but Moidal and Troach both talk to each other, and they're making the same consistent
Alright, why
argument.
don't you
for
read some
short-term
cards
crisis.
to me? That's not a double
can you
turn.
explain? Can you explain the warrant then? Why they agree with each
Argument-
other?
Yeah, our argument is that if Russia undergoes a quick crisis, it leads to reform, and that's good.
But then you say if Russia's economy is strong, they have the capacity
No,
to be
because
adventurous.
when they reform and become a liberal economy, they won't be expansionist, which is proven by democratic peace theory. That's the thesis of the argument, is that Russia will undergo liberal reforms in the event of a
I don't
crisis,
know
meaning that they'll be stable.
Topicality, the
transition.
only interpretation is large formation. Why isn't the AF a large formation?
Because there's 24 people that work for the
That's
national
not true. The SPP is 150 individuals.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's so much more.
Okay,
than
it's
the
all of our
60,000
military
personnel
presence in
Army,
Mongolia.
dang.
Oh yeah, no, your app's huge. No, it's
You think
totally
all of our
debatable.
military presence in Mongolia is
Yeah, that's
significant.
not enough. We don't think Mongolia is topical.
But why? Where does your author
Because
say
our
that's
argument
not?
is that large bases
What
is
is
key.
large?
Like there are bases
More than
in
124
Japan,
people from
South
Alaska.
Korea.
Mongolia has a base though.
There are differences between bases. It's talking
Your
about the status of
Carnegie
forces.
evidence
It's
says
not a
any
base.
base
It's not a base because it's not owned by the U.S.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
Counter plans
You
are
don't have it.
all conditional.
Yeah.
And you can kick planks.
Yeah, why not? Yeah,
The
that's
net
always an
benefit
option.
to defund is only the internal one.
Word.
The net benefit to like the missile defense one is like
Reverse
deterrence turns.
elections.
Yeah, can you go through the story on that? Real quick? Why does the plan link to the elections?
The counter plan is a uniqueness for the DA. It says that Clinton's going to lose the election now because Obama's weak on foreign policy. Counter plan is incredibly strong, and foreign policy swings the election.
And foreshadow your answer to me. Why not perm?
Why not perm?
Because
you
perm
would-
sever, because
yeah.
perm reduced presence.
Our
But the
counter plan-
Mediterranean isn't in the topic.
you're talking about a
mixing
different
up.
counter
Wait,
plan.
no, yeah, you're mixing up things. We put a carrier in the Mediterranean to solve your
Sure.
Mediterranean pact.
Oh, I got it.
Yeah,
Let me
then
ask a
another
follow-on
counter
question
plan.
then.
Sure.
So, if it's the Thomas counter plan, it's increased military presence in Northeast Asia. Why does that have to include Mongolia?
Because the topic is Northeast Asia, and if you are topical, you have to be in Northeast Asia.
Oh, so we have to fully cap the region is your understanding of competition.
Yes.
Okay. Last question. Defund. We're a state staff. All the money comes from the National Guard. Why do you
Yeah,
sell?
the National Guard's a federal program, so good luck going for
Well,
that.
but it's at least half funded by Alaska. So why would they just continue doing
Yeah,
that?
you think Alaska has enough money to sustain an SPP forever? Also,
Just
do you think
wait
they
till
have
you
the
hear the
motivation to
GHG
do
graph.
that? Why do you think the Alaskan government would stretch their
I'm good.
budget after the Congress cut it? Like, it's not that important to them.
topicality, the defunding counterplan, the offsets counterplan.
I'm sorry. Is that about the missiles?
Yeah.
The missiles? Okay, good.
Soft offsets.
Offsets. The Mediterranean counterplan. / client advantage counterplan. The acquisition DA, and then the elections counterplan advantage. I'm going to shorten this because I can't see everyone.
You're reverting to the shell.
I actually kind of like it higher up, but I just don't like not being able to see your face, Dallas. Other judges maybe, but not your face. Does everyone have it downloaded at least?
Just making sure I got order right. China, Russia, T, appropriations counterplan, offsets counterplan, Mediterranean counterplan, acquisition DA, elections DA.
Yep. Is everyone good? Alright, I'll take that as a yes. No links SVP, go the reference what the SVP generally it's not about. Alaska National Guard being in Mongolia, the plan shifts to Europe, so Balkan escalation, Qatar, in 14 SVPs and North application security, the Balkan shoot Alaska relations and program 50. Continue to shoot the location influence on the region, plays an important role in border security, stability. Although they must focus on shifting from the Pacific disability means that areas of potential escalation now. Permanently shifting to the north, versus fight progress courses of Yadigan, enjoy the economic situation worse than CMAD. In setting up people, the partnership to resolve and realign, making a sense to disengage for the SVP versus to a new partnership, some require more attention to putting more than others in. Would rationalize resources closer partnership, open up a new one did. In turning turns all of their nuclear war with Russia or Honsky. In 15 Russian out of West and the Balkans low intensity conflict will be changed to the results to accident. Actually, I'm going to scratch that. It just internally turns all their Russian war. Good stuff. Now, they say the credibility to set their linked SVP at state, not federal government, National Guard is a subset of Central Part where Mongolia is on the west side away from the SES and Taiwan. It doesn't do assurance require assurance. Matthews and 15 low-key programs quietly nurturing there is limits on what the National Guard can do. We don't too big tree training success may be harder than the future. The global environment change, emerging cancer, great new challenges, limits on the SVP of Ohio, new port, where involved in any kind of conventional warfare partnership has failed to deter troops and invade even while they're willing to wear. In Georgia, there's little order on Hawaii, can do about Chinese or Russian. The CS is not agree. Links to the SVP is certainly not with early the National Guard, which are all now funds other forces than Korea and Japan are sufficient to solve its peacetime process. That roads deterrence, so there's no internal link to a channel. Half Mongolians after 13 and 13 had groups that launched Mongolian military relations, weaponized and export, knowing U.S. exercise that. Goes attempted to reach out to the U.S. and probably trying to see any Chinese attempted like destroy the U.S. military MCT's competent in Mongolia's serious breach cannot be ignored for the sake of security questions, deterrence, and retaliation escalates blockade. In 15 network has to translate international crisis. U.S. has to know for limited predator security missions. China demonstrated ability to conduct stabilize and cyber activity. The U.S. has for military critical services that be good involved in the ability to crisis especially misperceived and disproportionate original response to extension of conflict escalated to the U.S. role of global security confusion one to weaken deterrence credibility assurance of misinterpreted commitment on Ryan. A coalition will explicitly concede there's no U.S.-China war generally. That means there's no impact to their DA, but you've conceded all of the case IMAR. Instability causes breaks in nuclear type causes extinction. REs cause extinction. SAF cause extinction. NATO. China relations solve extinction. The Mediterranean war goes totally nuclear. Now there's no circumvention. JCOS likes the plan, which internally turns their warrants. Lost in 11. Greatest obstacle this year often reign uninformed. The SPP is under embrace the SPP to the NDT senior white because after the Jews are informed resulting on Chinese good and anti-NG bases among the anti-personnel that plans clear and unambiguous, so there's no circumvention. States Nazi DOD control SPP and then their presence then. If they read more against, we'll answer them in the block. The Russia advantage groups, Jar 5 excellential impacts, nuclear complex, terror, polar science, corrals, and Japan-Russia cooperation, all go extinction there. Turns have no answers to them. There's no link. We didn't look at the economy impact. It's only about the nuclear industry. The reference about broader trends that we don't affect, and there's zero uniqueness in the climate. Now it's resilient strokes. And if there's right components made quickly right in the Russian proof of our resilient economy is high. Bounce back without much of the effort to help the making functions better. There's been no revision. The impact is empirically denied by 20 years of growth to decline. Causes worse. The Russian capital in 16 million economic problems of the much of the Russian that is naked Putin overly made a number of countries to come here. Ukraine and Syria and major resilient adventure to come here. Reversal academic power to over domestic improvement to foreign policy master degree common to prudent calculating more casts around the more vulnerable argument across the at home. Tyler marked that at home for me. There is no democracy. Decline hurted. Blair in 99. A weakness of strength and anti-economic revenge for Russia. It is. I mean, the military neutrality divides the nationalism, Russia strength and holy polarization. They were very weak on the link in this. If they explain one, then we get new answers in the block, because they've not established one as per the one in C, and they also haven't answered the case. Now, topicality, we need bases. There's 3 types, including CSL, Swayland, and 12 DOTs, creating new types of bases, and active by GP, or GOT, operating 3 types of bases, MOB, self forces, and CSL. So, plan closes 1 campus in location designated CSL to run 86 Mongolia, 5 hills, and center presence is forces, DOD, and 15 presence forward deployed station forces, SVPs deployed forces on equipment, panel, and 12 states are taking policy involvement in the SVP and NG units are covered all of the countries and deployed part of deployment with their program bases only that includes troops, carriers, all of Africa except for Djibouti, topic explosion, education bases are outdated, Asian presences like footprint, they exclude core affirmative Harkany, it's affirmative Harkany, and 89 definitions around the present are cast by the red and company bases that anything might satisfy the criteria in a military presence that would incorporate not only the obvious bases but also military advisors significant reduction with is a topic country Mazzetti, and 13 a complete withdrawal would be significant presence is 100 personnel to ward, and 6 military personnel to find at least 100 military personnel, solves limits, there's more than 1,500 no most under 100 functioning limits, check there's few advocates of generic self their ground affirmative flexibility topic is still by a lack of innovation makes us a sitting duck education picks kill single countries debating Mongolia's good power and 12 people relations false with visitor Mongolia selection citizens of consideration of folks reporting linkage in U.S. Mongolia represents archetypal of hidden numbers are arbitrary Harkany doesn't define large is contrived and unpredictable just like contributionally or affirmative topical or result in all of significant continuing with special device arbitrary using arbitrary threshold is wrong reasonability good enough theory cause a complex substance competing tradition cause a race of the bomb the default counterplan permutation dual 2 different actors means it sells net benefit conditionalized voting issue Christian strategies are irresponsibly disposal they're often prone to the counterplan agrees on Mongolia present should be less than an example of the plan should is not finding counterplans to remove the essential element of present or if it is impossible to be they can remove all weapons leadership et cetera net benefits are unpredictable kills grounded funding does nothing states paid for SPP pill and some should be included pressures funded by the state government such as the SPP the programs funded by the participating state that bypasses budget pressure martial and 12 and innovative program demonstrating U.S. military agile flexible capable SPP to provide very high level of leverage tools SPP and efficient budgetary considered rate planning for the block reduces budget low cost program the guys share part of the program many DOT programs permutation G fund of the person Mongolia is not key no spillover 1 to funding is insufficient their evidence is old Congress is dysfunctional and empowered Tea Party would be terrible status quo funding self Haiti Lebanon and Vietnam is listening in other Congress is the power of the first time to reason in Marie the restricted action in the required approval before expanding Lebanon and 9 military operations in Vietnam congressional power fails Hamilton and 15 Congress is very Jack failure maneuvers denied an opportunity to work in Congress and legislate never sort of a there was no way to public debate Congress maintaining a such a prejudice about EPA's healthcare if we're getting crucial oversight and the missile defense counterplan. We will defend regional removal, but not against offensive models unsustainable because the affirmative does the whole plan against negative kicks any form of redeployment monopoly on the preparation and one side net benefits makes it impossible. Education destroys depth and specific forcing debates on generalities as regional presence that was over and done at GSU moves towards targeted subsets is key. It doesn't solve China leaving presence in the region deters encirclement, especially because they are suspicious of SPP and it makes Mongolia feel as if they are emboldened, creating new presence amplifies the link to Christian the 13th expanded SPP many of Korea would see the sun now present Russia to balance of how to causing partnership with rogue states and non-state actors lead to pro-liberation China makes stand SPP to reverse the Russian lead to the increasing military bill. It doesn't solve Russia, withdraw from the region, let's fall to be administered Mongolia, key to Moscow, leaving other forces nearby makes them think that we haven't disengaged the Podesky evidence permutation due the plan and shift out of the present Mongolia is not key permutation due the plan to replace the significant amount of land power military presence in land bases with missile units doesn't reduce from the region, it does reduce from the region just from other Northeast Asia countries. It's logical the counterplans of 2-step process especially competitive most objective boards of worst forms of counterplans. Now, the Mediterranean counterplan permutation to both Mediterranean is not in the topic, so it's not severance or intrinsic. It doesn't solve the Mediterranean advantage because China cooperation is key to solve escalation from they have no evidence why the U.S. is key. Global withdrawal now means counterplan doesn't solve it. Thumbs every DH result. And 15 months to reduce presence key spots in the Middle East, requested Libya, Syria, Afghanistan, and ISIS to create a new human power to try to incredibly incentivized forces are martial and peaceful and pulling them all together. There's no care reason to filter this key to deterrence one through the green light to reduce their presence in Sinai zone that it may happening down. B will drop India better than 300 from the Turkey, the Klein portion of the counterplan to permutation to both permutation permutation due to the plan, and any combination of places of the counter links to everything. The complains a step up from robust pressure. It is seen as a regional disengagement. Doesn't solve NATO or Russia, both are based on SPP, not further military distinction. Doesn't solve IMR equipment and defense are just examples of how expanding presence in bold in Mongolia, leaving SPP makes it structurally inevitable. Other areas building Mongolian defense capabilities create a perception that it's a Neville Dressel and Eddington. Now, the acquisition DA is not intrinsic logical estimate can fund both can link SPP state policy run by governors. Alaska alone can do it. That's tries evidence of both backlash silly in one state officer operating below the political rate of use of federal laws integrated with insulated political pressure, no controversy. Owens and two SPP quite achievement is one largely understood by foreign policy. Washington a leading study of just Bush's one send SPP change nature of military explain this oversight. They don't have any evidence that says McCain doesn't like our plan. It's popular Dickerson 13 criticism Congress raised against SPP and effectiveness from forward news such an encouragement SPP is no dedicated authority tech sector is fine as inspire and tech. U.S. Secretary of State anticipated increased level of 2010 87.7 1.6 seconds to episodes are optimistic about the economy and the growth this year. This economy will continue to stabilize, begin to start to create a deal, making effort to rebound on. The U.S. is driving a sector of about consumer demand, international growth, and management to meet certain levels. Overall, state of now by 2010, we are key to deterrence because RE's internal interns that you can't have an effective tech sectors if you don't have the rare earth metals that are a prerequisite to the elections. It's too far off. Stokes and 16. I don't think it's one foreign policy different less than 60 days of link 200 because of the foreign policy issues have to be dramatic and immediate event. Who knows what's going to happen? It's about the rock Trump and San Bernardino. We're going to surprise, Alex, it's going to be under advantage of a whole bunch of people who the economy manufacturer Candace campaign and they will drive their use. This links to the counterplan. It doesn't increase presence, it just changes how it operates, so it doesn't make Clinton look stronger. Trump said he wants to leave all of Japan and Korea, which means that no one who thinks security is important is going to vote for Trump over Clinton. The plan is popular enough. He voted all in 13 news and competent under quiet diplomacy. Speaking of religion at the afford of home stand many Americans welcome to the budget for trouble nation 59% of the country this isn't in their budgets were drawn out from states don't link is not tied to Obama. Mongolia is not perceived Walker 95. Actually,
Don't do that because it's not a link to the plan. Just do the Lloyd stuff.
You're right. Lloyd is about status quo. Obama failure is not conclusive that Trump uniquely causes conflicts. I will insert their evidence into the debate. I'm going to do a little bit more on Russia. No aggression, evidence and intent. Even Russia's economy doesn't really have the criminal operated because of the weakness of the CIS many or trillions out of Russia. The mid-world US and Europe and Baltic catastrophic constraints the ads of the West will then till others to limit Russia will continue to be great. How where Russia's not aggressive feel under 9 different Russia provoked. Did you mark that other card that I marked in that speech for me?
I did not, but it's at home.
9:35, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, can I mark these before we do cross-ups?
Yeah,
Just
sure.
word 16
Well,
doesn't
they're
let you.
probably anyway, so you can just do that.
Oh, never mind. You do you.
Okay.
Well, oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Wait.
You are Kaplan and home.
Okay. Oh yeah, for sure. Here's our podium if you need to borrow it.
This is our big thing, right?
Huh? Yes.
And that's this one.
Yes.
Just making sure.
Yes. No.
Oh, it's already there. Yeah.
Just, I've made it exactly what it needs to say, and you don't need to change anything else.
Okay.
I mean, honestly.
8:05. You good?
Uh-huh.
On topicality, you said the DoD has authority over closing bases. On Congress counterplan, you said permutation to the counterplan, and then you're on the acquisition DA, you say you're the states. What are you?
I don't think we said DOD controls the plan on T at
The
all.
topicality evidence you read says that DoD has final authority over closing bases. That's
No, it
just a
doesn't. It
statement
says
of
that the
fact.
DOD is creating new bases, not that they have final authority at all.
What do you mean?
Are you
So everybody
referencing our
agrees
raise
that
evidence? It
this-
says the DOD
so-
is creating new
okay,
types of bases.
so you
On the
only
counterplan,
then-
we said permutation due to the
Okay,
counterplan
I
because we
understand.
don't think that the counterplan is opportunity cost to the affirmative. We've been
Okay,
saying
so-
since the 1AC that we are the states.
So then my next question is, you remove the troops related to the SPP program, but you do not allow the DoD to change the base in Mongolia. You just take the troops out.
No, we have the states close the base.
So you think you have evidence that says the state can close a military base?
Do you have evidence that says the states can?
Well, state
Like
about about it.
fiat, some
I
national.
wanna
we
talk
actually
about-
also
okay,
do. It's
I
the
wanna
first
talk about
two
the
cards.
Yeah, but to be clear,
Okay.
our first cards on the appropriation
We'll get there.
counterplan do say that the states are sufficient
Okay,
to do the
I want to talk about the permutations on the offsets counterplan, particularly the last two. What exactly are they?
I'm sorry, can you repeat your question?
Offsets counterplan, last two permutations. Permutation do the plan and shift other presents. What
No, it
presents?
doesn't say other presents.
That's
Well,
the text
actually it
referring-
does, you're right. Other presents in Northeast Asia.
You're
Like,
right,
from
and
Japan or
obviously it's
Korea.
intrinsic to a certain extent. That's because you have a super artificial net benefit that we could not predict and is not
Okay,
related
then
to
the
the
second perm, do the perm and replace a significant amount of its land power military presence with land-based missile units. Isn't that just the counterplan?
does the object of the counterplan.
So
It's not.
you reduce.
It's textually competitive. It definitely does the plan. And if you
Okay.
want to say functionally
Okay.
it would be severance
I
because we
understand.
don't withdraw from the
Thank you.
region, then it functionally can trade off with other
The
presence
first
in the
card
region,
on
which
the
is not severance
acquisitions
or
they said
intrinsic.
by Sealy doesn't talk about SPP. Why is it a no link? It
What-
just says that
On
state
where are you
enforcement
sorry, I didn't
officers,
hear you. Where are you
like,
talking about?
The first card on the acquisition dissad says that state enforcement officers like me and Peter Lerner, I have no idea who that is, have small and agile offices, who cares, that are under the political radar. How does this answer the DA?
Because it says we've read a card that said state policies are not perceived by Congress, and
Okay,
then I read
the
another
Owens
card,
card,
that
which
says
is
that SPP
Cool. So the
is
Owens
also
card
unnoticed.
says that it's gone unnoticed by many foreign policy specialists in Washington. Like who? Like who are these foreign policy specialists that don't care?
Like people in Congress and all of them.
That's a jump.
Our evidence
Your
says it's not
Dickerson
noticed,
card
which
says
logically
that
means all of
critics
them.
come from Congress, raise concerns over SPP effectiveness. So that's our link. Why does this answer the DA?
Could you explain how you
Yeah,
believe
your
that to
card
be?
says that there are critics in Congress who raise concerns about SPP's effectiveness.
Uh-huh.
So even if the SPP, like this is the link to the DA.
That SPP is ineffective, so ending ineffective things is bad. That's your
Okay,
link.
I understand now. Thank you.
Is your link that
It's
I
805, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
plus you're used to it.
Fudge. We've been here.
You all know the good life.
So the order is the advantage counterplan. One that does like the Mediterranean business. Oh wait, we're missing Dallas. So. Oh, there he is. The advantage counterplan with like the Mediterranean. It's the one that does the Mediterranean business, and it does like the recounting the client card. The first advantage about like I'm at China, secessionism in Mongolia, whatnot. The Russia advantage, advantage 2. And then the congressional acquisition counterplan, one that cuts the funds.
Just to make sure I got it. Advantage
Yes.
counter. Oh, sorry, that wasn't it.
Yeah, you're good.
Advantage counter plan, China advantage, Russia advantage, defund counter plan.
Yeah, cool.
Sorry, I'm still downloading this one. See?
Sure.
Hold on. Can you flash it to me? It's just my
Yep.
computer went down with stuff right now.
Sorry.
Oh, never mind. It's starting to happen. Oh no, this is not going to happen.
I'm sorry, so after the Russia advantage, the next argument is the acquisitions dissent.
I got it.
No, the congressional defunding counterplan. The one that has Congress cut.
I got it.
Yeah.
So not the acquisitions dissent.
Yeah, no, not going to talk about that.
Okay.
Alrighty, is everybody good? Great. We highlighted other client evidence says the counterplan is sufficient to solve the plank that stops support from Mongolia because it means they would no longer lash out. They don't have any evidence that says we have to actually stop the state partnership program in order to solve this advantage. To its counterplan, the United States should increase the state partnership program presence in the Balkans. It's also written our evidence which says we have sufficient SSP capabilities now. There's no reason why we have to shift it, which means that we solve the add-on. That we solve the add-on that the case of permutation due to both obvious links in that benefit because it involved reducing presence. Also we're impacting the other advantage. We're not trying to solve it, meaning that's also a net benefit now. Advantage 1: do they have a card that says that the U.S. removing this presence and will stabilize Mongolia and prevent the secessionist group? I don't think they do. They have a card that says that they're being emboldened in the status quo. They have a card that links at the United States presence. They don't have any evidence. It's a reverse causal that says they would no longer have the means and motivations they would because regional autonomy is an aspiration that exists for ideological reasons, not necessarily political ones. They don't have a card about changing the balance of power, which means you should strongly err. For a negative on in terms of solvency to their card that China's not going to go to war. They accept the card that China's not going to go to war. They conceded, which shakes out their hacking argument, which means that they don't get that out on either. Circumvention. The plain writing is way too big for the cross-examination check. Yes, you say separate state partnership program. You don't specify what the agent is. You don't specify how the reduction actually occurred. The president can always fudge it. Williams 13. The term significant reduction is so immediately simple contains no benchmark to determine what significant reduction is and what would allow found administration simply clear that this has already been done. We have more recent evidence. You read from 2014 says that Hagel opposed it. He was the last Secretary of Defense. The card they reached from 2012, which was the defense industrial complex is 1 year after. They foot track. That's a further evidence. Regional commanders are the ones that determine presence. As David said, which means the plan likely doesn't reduce. Also, legal interpretations are informed by politics, and you shouldn't get to bypass realistic debate. Now comes the military will manipulate Part 13 in response to the threat we see deliberation. We see the deliberate reshaping of the laws as military lawyers remake the laws of my custody if I leave them creating legal competence spread judicial cover of almost totally an opposite destruction. The law that was below over Spain 14 the sea embarks of red civility controls been undermined. One reason has been the disagreements between the military and civil political leaders of the country. War disagreements suggest one of the causes of emergency of our ball civility controls privilege has gone unchallenged at various times now. The right of the Russia advantage. We do have a link to DDEV. We re-highlighted your evidence that you read in the 1AC that said that when the Russia starts getting more presence in Mongolia, their economy starts growing. Because all of a sudden they have a bunch of access to new resources. That they have an entirely new market upon which to base their nuclear industry. We re-highlighted your ev to say this, which means you cannot make a no-link argument. Also, they really messed up by not just reading the Davidson card or something in the 1AC. Focus on far eastern development. Also, trades off with inward greatness, which causes Russian project or Golden 16. One of the approach would be for Russia to focus on is the best prosperity that gives great power. A certain way lies the division, modernizing line support, economic diversification, innovation, force current trajectory makes us less probable over time. The more likely choice to see closer ties with non-Western economies, especially in Asia, which proves that there's a direct trade-off between the model that Russia would adopt after the plan in terms of foreign policy and what they're going to do in the status quo. There's a window of opportunity for modernization now, but an economic crisis is key to sober rough assessment and shift to liberalism. That is the 1C Molotov evidence. There is no double turn. First of all, the 2AC didn't make this argument. Second of all, our evidence is obviously consistent that the Russia that happens after the crisis will be different than the Russia that exists in the status quo because they liberalize and they privatize their economy. That's our code evidence that specifically solves the civil war, which is in the 2NC. They also dropped the Donbass argument that a short-term dip in Russia's economy will cause them to withdraw from Donbass. That causes a miscalculated nuclear war between the U.S. and NATO, which also flips all their arguments about NATO-U.S. cooperation because they're going to be embroiled in a war with Far Eastern countries, and that depends on them having a crisis right now, which the affirmative obviously solves because it boosts their economy in the short term. This is a window of opportunity for modernization, but crisis is key to shift to liberalism. Gillespie 15 is a window of opportunity for modernizing ideology, modernization, crisis, super assessment. There are significant sizes of change in public opinion, back conservative shape, many Russians believe this station, right social benefits of holding on to the market economy, which is portends modern liberalism. This is good based on modernization requires to signal from the top, from the top and demand from the bottom. This kind of work turn praise work, those the bottoms up create the base for practically formulated liberal economic ideology. Also, they said that Russian hegemony is going to get weak now. That's also the basis of our impact turn, that they're going to start getting externally weaker, meaning they have to focus on internal greatness. Democracy and democratic forces exist would be the transition stable. Go to 60, 15, many to be able to see an alternative. Is another Russia possible? Yes, until now opposition forces failed to offer coherent partner national change for facilitating the discussion about constitution for both parliament judiciary both in the rebooted the economy, function, transparency, such an outcome to transform everything. One victory will respond another reform now makes them become liberal. Economy 14, the short-term physical health of the state is not to be dictated. One silver lining in the dark. Actually, no, I'm not going to read that card. It outweighs all of their internal arguments about stability. Cut against say 126. Growth and oil production will just be short-lived versus vision growth. The global mechanisms, large cost of production, about the country's leadership, some period diversify its economy through structural reforms. The crisis will create political momentum. Causes 15. This is a picture of all known not quite. The crisis may be creating new impetus for Russia, make difficult changes to reduce its dependency on export of raw materials, reform the Russian economy will require a great deal of time, effort, and money. The second wave of the crisis will also be the world economy and struck a very powerful blow, but could also act as a strong British Russia develop, reduce its dependence. Never let a good crisis go to waste. This evidence also says that Russia needs to transition away from a resource-dependent economy, which the affirmative obviously ratifies because Russia is suddenly now dependent on uranium for their economy, meaning that they haven't shifted away from the Dutch disease model that they currently have. Here's another card that the liberalized Russia will be different. Hal 14. Russia belongs to resurrect its empire. This outlook said Moscow be the governance foreign affairs by industrial politics. Putin should know this. That departure governance is instituted for 40% to new ideology rooted in liberal democracy is the best way for Russia politically speaking. This is president. There's president for this liberalizing the political system, not improve ties to the influence and help rebrand the country with a softer, more appealing image. Russia can find itself entrenched by reordering economic relations. The potential for soft powers and enormous of Russia that can embrace liberal change will be a better place for the world. All the evidence that they reach to impact turn our evidence back. None of it assumes Putin, which means he usually air negative because he's a fundamentally different administration than their older cards have. No last shot. There'll be cooperation. Markov 10. The weakening of Russia, the weakening of Russian cloud has made it difficult for Moscow to fly to international norms or aggressively challenge legitimate recognition of Russia's lack of competitive threats and security that has made elements of Russia's assertiveness for policy unsustainable. One example are control negotiations for the fiscal constraints supported by a new urgency. The Russian leaders calls for cutting the two-stage arsenal trade continues to increase. Despite the crisis, Moscow's expressed interest in deepening its ties will have to deck their military spending. Markov 10. The crisis will affect Russia's foreign policy. The military will have to confront a period of renewed austerity, lack of funding as imperial these efforts, whether they can actually afford to do so remains uncertain. Meanwhile, the Russian Navy is also encouraging problems given like resources decline in military industrial complexes and the Soviet Union will make difficult to reverse the struggles of the military industrial complex have to go to the prevalent powerful incentive to avoid the risk of further military conflicts. Now the Congress counterplan extend the net benefit. Congressional involvement of war powers is critical to prevent WD proliferation, North Korean Russian war. Congressional restrictions make it so the president can threaten more credibly that independently means all small-scale wars. That independently means it won't intervene in other small-scale conflicts that prevents international norms from being expanded. That causes hotspots out beyond the 6. The U.S. must abide by rigorous standards, doctrines that lower the for action in these efforts to regional crises. Countries on the brink of war by using doctrine justified actions that are which take U.S. posture to make it even harder to counter diplomacy. Examples about for China and Taiwan. The meeting state Pakistan nothing more but protect the war from nuclear weapons, and the U.S. are acting within its legal boundaries. The conditionality arguments first. It's good. One negative act is to pick the focus of the options to compensate for action, accession, and ground. 2 information processing, multiple options. 4 2 efficiency. 3 logic. Proving a counter plan is bad doesn't mean the plan's good. Only make portable skills meaningful. 4 ideological flags. We need to be able to make multiple arguments. 5 excuse inevitable T violations of case defense are no risk. And a 6 job to generate time and balances. 6 that you have to defend opportunity cost idea. The interpretation artificially insulates them for testing. 7 theory interpretations are arbitrary self-serving. They always move the goalposts to generate cheap wins that are cheap wins of works and substance. They say the counterplan's illegit. It's good. 1 topic education. Their interpretation crowds out debates about procedure, which has the ability to analyze military doctrine. 13 debate can be about both the job and the contract substance, the policy parameters, implementation, and exclusive focus on substance can overlook the important dimension. The climate which the policy gets executed, major component Navy's resistance if the reforms focus on specific example rules were enacted within the JCS. The Russian Navy supported the substance matter less than the implementation. Ground the counterplan checks against small, tiny affirmatives like this one, which is a critical hedge for the negative. The NDT also process education is good. Their interpretation of reduce makes debate meaningless and also unpredictable because it allows you to make probabilistic changes over intent. The grid does not define a reduction. Reduce means dimension size. These definitions are not helpful because they define the act, not the process. The activity means the decision to reduce the notification thereof because of this is mentioned more than one regional meaning. One regional meaning. The language is ambiguous. They say permutation of the counterplan is severance. Reductions require acceptance. The plan must mandate persons be taken out of a topic area, whereas the counterplan doesn't do because people can always refuse to accept it. Guy 91 refusing not to accept it. Refuse to accept is not the equivalent of reduce. One cannot reduce something one is not accepted. Acceptance is precondition. Reduction refusal to accept a precursor is not the equivalent of a reduction. The counterplan only defunds. Ordering a retreat is something only the president can do. Proctor 6. Congress would have the same authority over respect of same power, but there be other after saying excess of the Congress will not reach scholars and admit that Congress cannot regulate decisions involving the retreat of soldiers. You should prefer our interpretation because other definitions of reduce allow the end to offset, suspend, or recommend changes, which will lead to unpredictable advantages. That's plan minus because reductions require appropriations to F12. A drawdown is a new facet and distinct operation will credit from new set of action billions of dollars. Drawdowns occur as a new facet operation using separate congressional authorization. These are gaining for cluster relocation means altering decommissioning new facility should means a plan has to be meeting certain summer 74 certain contexts. Many should meeting more desirability should be the same as most phrase knows laws immediately effective poses something that will become effective in the future. Fiat should be a meeting on conditional A is key to negative ground because every dissent depends on time sensitive implementation via affirmative ground because it helps because the hell changes back against rollback arguments. Permutation to both is either severance or intrinsic because of the delays implementation until after funds are cut, which is also intrinsic because that's on the concept of sequencing or but separate out of the immediate implementation of the plan. Permutation links because the executive has a first mover advantage, which means that Congress will continue to duck its head and stamp unilateralism. Druckers 13 as the executive will suited highly motivated take initiative of Congress and motivated ineffective relegate to Congress help collective action possible the high transaction costs corresponding to the unilateral actions by seeing to the legislative negotiations executive will support for the positions of judges their constitutional congressional Congress asserting their authority is key because of audience cost flower 13. Congress should utilize the power of the purse. Congress should refuse to allocate money to be part from the purposes of war required specific revenue military action clause. Both political principles are possible before entering impulsive endless order. Christian physical responsibility to public attention to the cost of war. This time is likely to represent the resources of voice American people and the decision-making process rather than even the president like individual like church. Congress must step up and make an effective framework. The counterplan also solves because the political cost is too high to refuse. Increment 11. They were ruling that every price of political legitimacy the president has to pay to such a desperate negative strategy. Blatant breach of the law of seeking one mandate will make it much easier for the opponents to mobilize against the public against them. Even these the person times members of Congress will be willing to reach across the aisle. Or the aisle.
You good?
Yeah.
Is the 1NR just going to try and say that we're not the states, or what's your solvency claim for this counterplan?
That if Congress cuts the funds, the audience costs would be far too high to keep the
but
base
the
open.
audience costs you've referenced are from the president. How does that affect the audience costs of the National Guard, who gives no fucks about Congress?
Well, first of all, the National Guard does receive federal funding, so the counterplan would take away their money.
But we've read evidence that says
Second
despite federal funding, the states can fund the National Guard in Mongolia on
well,
their own.
yeah, our argument about audience costs is it would look like a disaster if Congress said you need to get them out, and then there was a fight between Alaska and the Congress.
That is about a fight between the president and Congress explicitly.
Well, yeah, but the president has political pressure to not allow us to have our soldiers in Mongolia
but
not getting enough money.
How does that change the state's calculation?
It would change the state's calculation because Obama could use the bully pulpit, any other executive mechanisms to put pressure on the Alaskan governor
to be
take out the
clear,
forces because
Obama,
he's being
one of
pressured
the
by
most
Congress.
hated presidents by the states, who people have tried to secede from
I
him
think
in
you're
the
acting,
past,
like,
is
it's
suddenly
only
going to be
Alaska.
successful
We only have to
in
solve
being
with
the
Alaska,
state's
and Alaska isn't like Wyoming, so I don't like your solvency argument makes sense.
Actually, Alaska like Sarah Palin.
I mean, sure, but also it's one of the most
she can
diverse
see Russia
states
from her
in
house.
the,
She wants, Wranglers and danglers.
I don't. Yeah,
She
you don't
wants
have
to
a
make
card
America
about this,
great
and we
again.
have cards. so I
Actually,
don't know
just
what you're
wait till the
talking
1AR. We have many.
Okay, we'll read more.
Now
sure.
the advantage counter plan. You have actually. I want to talk about the circumvention arguments
Sure.
instead. You've read significant means will be circumvented. The plan doesn't say significant. Does the 1AR have to answer this?
Yeah, probably, because our argument is more broadly that reductions can always be
No,
qualified
that
unless you
evidence just
specify
says that
numbers.
the president can define significant. It says
Well,
nothing about reductions.
yeah, but our argument is that when you say
Now,
reduce,
you've
the
also
president
just
will
read
say,
evidence.
oh, but by how much?
Generally,
And they
your
can
evidence
sure.
is all about the presidents will fudge it and all of that. How does this respond to the warrant that the JC? Actually, I'll get to that in a second.
Well, I mean, because
how
Hegel
does
still
this
controls our
how does this
presence in
respond to the
Mongolia,
warrant that
which
the
is your
states
evidence.
can do the affirmative?
Well, the fact that you've read a piece of evidence that it was the Secretary of Defense Hegel that supported our presence being there to begin with, it seems to indicate
Hegel
that...
said he liked his trip to Mongolia. That doesn't mean he's tied to presence.
The fact
now,
that you think the
but
National
just
Guard is
because,
separate for the rest of the military
if the presidency wants to keep presence in Mongolia, but the state governments say, no, we're going home, can the president force the National Guard to be there?
The president could put other people there, which is also part of our argument, right? That the military
Didn't you
wants
say
to
that
keep
affirmative
people
fiat
there.
had to be durable and permanent?
Well, if that's true, then our counterplan competes, which is the basis of that double bind.
We'll take that.
Spoiler alert, we're just going to go for this doesn't fucking solve. But that's fine.
Okay, sure.
So,
thanks for the preview.
Given that, is there a circumvention argument? You said durable fiat has to be permanent and immediate.
Well,
Durable fiat is permanent, so we can't go back to Mongolia. How can there be circumvention?
Well, we would make arguments that the military could increase their
remember
presence there
when
in other
in
ways,
Chewy
for example,
Cross
security
was like,
cooperation.
oh, you're being so vague, and we were like, actually, no, this is totally consistent. You are being incredibly vague and contradictory.
So the military,
what is
for
your
example,
vision
can
of
give
fiat?
defense. So the military, for example, could just give money to Mongolia to build up the partner capacity to keep them in our sphere of influence.
You have any
there are plenty
evidence
of
that
ways.
says that?
We have evidence that says that we want to keep Mongolia in our orbit. There are other ways besides bases to do
What
that.
evidence
or
says you
the
want to keep
SVP.
Mongolia? The
They
U.S. wants
also
to
are
keep
in
Mongolia in their
presence.
orbit.
That's your evidence that we read in the beginning of like that Klein card that was like Hegel wants it, and then you were like, oh yeah, Hegel loves it. Defense establishment likes it.
Offset
I think that's what we
counterplan,
said,
elections
no.
disad, acquisition disad.
Sorry, can you?
Offset counterplan, and then the elections disad, and then the acquisition disad.
So
I'm sorry, which, the missiles counter plan or the med counter plan?
The missiles counter
Okay,
plan.
got it, alright,
Yeah.
fine. And then, elections and then acquisitions.
Correct. Are we all ready?
Yeah.
Okay. All says counterplan are good broad interpretation on topicality. Proof we get them. They define the topic to include more military presence than the F means it's competitive. It's a germane opportunity cost of the plan. Leaving the region and keeping forces in Northeast Asia are mutually exclusive and obviously real with competitive options. The counterplan is in the literature and predictable. Should view reductions in the context of Northeast Asia as a whole. One, the topic wording specifics regions. The four wordings that were lost in country specific in the community strongly voted against that approach. Two, topic literature discusses policy changes in the context of region approach cost of 9. This does not mean the United States will continue significant military presence in Northeast Asia. The U.S. force level should be adjusted. What should look at U.S. actually one potential models and no large view spaces and other significant numbers of U.S. military force beyond that permanent returning basis. Third, reductions are most precisely debated by region, not country, down to this counts across all regions and in the values of countries. Google will use multi-present in the country elsewhere in the region, and independently they move the word reduce, which means to diminish in size and not increase. Treatment 99 reduce means to diminish inside harmonic center number. The result, the word reduce cannot be interpreted means increase solvency. The argument that we're going to go for this counterplan is that all their evidence that talks about way SPP pisses off Russia and China. The counterplan solves it because the SPP aren't doing what they're doing in the status quo anymore. They're devoted to missile defense assets, or it puts them in a double bind because their arguments about why we need to be perceived as disengaging from the region. But the affirmative still leaves 100,000 forces, the 7th Fleet, and our largest Air Force base in the region. So how can they solve their own affirmative? We are the only ones that solves China because the counterplan frees up the SCP arguments for missile defense, which prevents escalation. It's the only thing that solves their war coverage. 15 irregular ground forces in the Pacific can make satisfying opportunity territory can cost positions from China, even despite local forces and advanced training and access to missiles with impact with having small guerrilla resistance units. The strong forces led by U.S. forces to perform nations only they can accomplish the deterrent failed these actions who critically defend the first island to offsetting PLA advantage of addition demands and urban forces ground forces and able to the standards of ready to move quickly defend run legit successful policy deterrence. Also need to have a credible threat conference to not be determined and they can store more munitions in place from 100 basic goods and better surely by equipping ground forces when they expend the missile by positioning them forward along the first island chain. Washington and Alaska go long way toward fixing the imbalance group. The last two permutations, they're both just permutation do both because they reduce the SPP from the region and then rearrange the assets in Northeast Asia to do missile defense. Doesn't solve one. Withdrawal in conjunction with mission shift causes cleaning and double down on the status quo from the army branches at Thomas 2. It severs reduce, which means to diminish. That's random how severance terms must be topical if the affirmative can sever something necessary for the plan's topicality. Just because it's implicit, there's no predictable target left for the neg. Severance is a voting issue for fairness and preservation of ground. Third terms must be net topical, even if terms can include extra topical portions which come from the compound. There are reasons to vote affirmative only if the combined policy still reduces military presence, or else no logical reason exists to vote affirmative. 4, it's mutually exclusive with the reduction in the plan. If it's not in the plan, the F is in topical. 5, there's no advantage to doing both, and the F has the burden of justifying resolutional action. Presumption goes negative. 6, the counterplan does not include the plan and only includes the kind of policy. The F implements not the quantity or direction. 7, ignore their appeals that this is their ground. That cannot be an argument in this theory debate since the very purpose of the theory debate is to settle whose ground is whose. They beg the question. 8, even if they should not compete, it does. This is the resolution's fault, not ours. It should have said alter military presence. Seriously, stop writing resolutions with verb like increase and reduce. If you don't want to debate this, reduce is the lessening quantity. Save 70. 1, the emission size amount center normally modified means to make more temperate and less severe to something. It means within American heritage to within air negative. The permutation opens the floodgate to an infinite amount of small changes of intensity present without actually reducing the amount of personnel or region that automatically predictable ground for the negative and allows the affirmative to square to core issues on the topic. Mitchell 2 measures the reduced formula used both they can include neighborhood nations, the development understanding goodwill within the basin personnel, local communities, and sensitive environment, including north and other heads. The U.S. military presence poses. The U.S. could also consider reforms in the combined military command structure to fight good responsibility authority current lose. It competes textually and analytically with reducing the plan. The counterplan is mutually exclusive on the term, and that concept textuality is absurd. Makes the counterplan to insert will never before the verb phrase of the F plan not competitive. Functionality is better. Focuses on the policy implementation in the plan, and hence for the resolution of whether net reduction in support is good. The F plan doesn't have the term reduce or its functional equivalent in the plan. The F is not topical and topicality is a voting issue because it pursues a good focus debate. Go to the election dissent, not going for it. We'll concede it's too far off. Links to the counterplan. Then there's no link to the plan. Acquisitions dissent. They've conceded uniqueness. Acquisition reform will pass now. There's consensus between Secretary Carter and the head of the Armed Services Committee, McCain and Thornberry. Support from key Democrats reform will get rid of the NDAA and then pass later this year. That's golden meta link to it. They say intrinsic misinterpretation of fiat is the judges analyzing the political ramifications of the plan that preserves process dissent, which is critical to negative ground, especially in new affirmative debates and also relevant current events education. Now linked to base group, but I indicted all their evidence in cross-six. It's not talking about the SPP program in the first card. The second one doesn't mention. It's only talking about foreign policy analysis. Not McCain, Thornberry, or Carter were the key players. And the third card doesn't actually say anything. The linked debate is also about agenda prioritization. There's a closing window for lawmaking before the election. Key leaders are putting defense reform at the top of their list with the NDAA. And the plan upset the careful balance to being achieved. That's goal. Yes, Congress does it. And McCain wants it. Although Bill 13, the Senate concluded start step consideration annual defense authorization bill. Many consider McCain to reign as and then Coots National Guard State Partnership Program. The DoD was the involved military 15. The Pentagon is the vertical space without an act in Congress. McCain loves military presence in Northeast Asia. That's McCain 14. McCain delivered the following remarks on U.S. interest in Asia. We must realm with an increased emphasis on Asia. We face the immediate decision to determine the effect of American power utility. The ability to determine the enormous implication of regional force posture. We also have the same goal of linking our strategic commitment to region to our boss. President Ford deployed military force similar to the president. Privilege of realigning his force in Okinawa unless the president gets engaged in issue will preside holding out of armed forces and man of American power in Asia that never greater does. And low
threshold for the like we need to win because any sort of disruption in the fight proves that the acquisition reform will no longer happen. They say tech sector is strong knock 2 is eroding rapidly, which collapses our cyber capabilities. Core 15 future efforts are likely able to close technology left use rapidly, including the beginning they can't match new culture and politics of black people diverse advantages. Defense industrial base reward that advance knowledge team do something depending on acquisition for the system use their water system involved manner of must. There's no way they do really maintain advanced cyber warfare we have pursued company friends depending on acquisition system like walk away the problems and ability acquisition system. The translated isn't the capabilities rapidly and acceptable cost use skin all around routine technological advance for decades progress maybe the UD bureaucracy maybe the government development of new tech and the creation of operating concepts necessary in order to build a strategic account to foreign authority and presence and they say REE is key, not true. 1, acquisition reform, solve different innovation ways to get it. Second, we find different REEs elsewhere. And third, evidence is only about satellites, not other military technology. Weakening defense industrial base makes deterrence impossible. U.S. capabilities lag behind rivals, emboldens Iran and troops to case that. Halper and strong defense industrial base solves nuclear war with Russia, China, North Korea, India, Pakistan, and contains the impact of failed states of 111. Defense industrial policy may include dissemination, security, war from India, Pakistan, over Kashmir, police, robust peace and implementation for the strong use participate in other Korean involvement with mass destruction, Taiwan continues to get 50 U.S. against China, in an open conflict, Russia attacking former Soviet public war, Baltic states, collapsing counter nations, Mexico, operating complex system, effectively traditionally American state will require tracking technological literate people, the university industry must figure out the value individuals with Google minds and ways fed access info to use monopoly power, meaning not just diversity, new environments that prepare for people without within the likely they want or when people to use somewhere properly goes. That outweighs their wars and scenarios. Johnson 13 days to propose have no conflict between that can be resulted in compromise and can be set for paranoid rogue state fairness will oil enough to bind to the nuclear cult. Other rogues made us as a form of some unity in the stream of block on Warburton said Kieran Buster and this doesn't rely war by accident as well as legal conflict pursued by blunders of 2000 and leave must avoid sugar world with proliferating growth seek to become nuclear accidental conflict would drag major powers and monumental disaster could be the end of us all.
435.
Can I ask 2 questions real quick?
I'm gonna prep actually.
Just to Theo, if you're prepping. 1, is acquisition still trying to be a net benefit to offsets?
It always was, yeah.
Yeah, it's still trying to be?
Sure.
And 2, what's another net benefit to offsets? Is there any other?
Yeah, we prevent escalation of war with China.
Okay, thank you. I'm okay. 3:30. It's in.
This block is so nice flexy.
It's kind of our whole thing. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. People good for the order?
Sure.
China. Then Russia. The defund counterplan. The advantage counterplan. Yep, absolutely.
Okay, advantage counterplan.
Then the offsets counterplan. And then the appropriations to SAD. Anyone not good? Cool. Mongolia that causes IMR separatist region to explode, that causes Chinese last brown evidence causes extinction, also disrupts REs, that was a gram evidence, which caused extinction, also destroys satellites, sensitive unsaid evidence independently, destroys NATO cooperation, which is key to Mediterranean gas extinction, that's a Hungstan, and locks evidence, extinction outweighs everything, magnitude first because of irreversibility, and magnitude, yes, we are able to access emboldenment, the client evidence indicates that the transfer will result in arms sales in addition to cooperation that freaks out China in the first place, yes, there is a result in autonomy, the second card says that violence escalates in that, they feel powerful, it spills over to Xinjiang, Taiwan, and plenty of other countries, the no China war impacts even doesn't take out any of our scenarios because it's based on China lash in, not war with China, it does take out any of their dissads because it was literally no China war ever, the circumvention debate, we will expressly concede we have to be durable, fiat, the permanent, and immediate, we are not going for permutation to the counter plan, which is just an argument now, everyone loves the counter plan, everyone loves the plan, even if Obama's trying to circumvent the military likes and follows down those laws, and it's also DOD won't fight a loss in 11 Grace Obstacle Senior, officers remain uninformed, this crisis with the lack of understanding that SPP do and Grace SPP Senior, officers remain uninformed, results in lingering anti-NG bias among the personnel, additionally, we're not vague, said not say significant, we get durable fiat to solve those arguments, you could have asked us, and we were clear enough, we always says that it was the states, their Pollock evidence is about Obama, not the plan in itself, even if there's generally circumvention crossing proves that it wouldn't occur in this instance, the Russia advantage, if you impact her without answering the original impacts, you're going to have a bad time, they have conceded that decline of the uranium means that there's accidental nuclear war, that's the Blair evidence, also causes nuclear terrorism because industry collapses peace evidence, and collapse Russian polar science causes extinction via warming biodiversity loss, also independently we solve for Russia-Japan relations, which causes a cruel conflict and solves for an existentialist snares in the first place, there is zero fucking link to any of this shit, no matter how good Donnie sounds, first is, you've conceded, our SOX evidence says that economic collapse is resilient, which means that it is empirically denied, it would never exist in the first place, we also say that it's empirically denied and that it would never be able to spill over in the first place, our argument wasn't that the economy will collapse or fall now, which means that even if we increase it a little bit, they don't have any uniqueness for their impact turn, so no matter how good they sounded, is real, they have no evidence that's collapsing now, and the resources, okay.
We did not say no link, we don't increase their economy. We said no link, no one has read evidence that their economy will collapse.
No evidence that the economy is collapsing now, which was articulated about their resource internal link is about overfocus internally, not access otherwise. Even if their Far East turn is generally true, prefer the solvency of the affirmative, which says that it results in peaceful cooperation. They say U.S. war, our impacts even says that would wouldn't happen. The Adams evidence says that either aggression is inevitable or that it will always be constrained in the first place. No expansionism, pillar and virtues, aggression, finding Ukraine is being couched in terms of Nazi expansionism, the underlying such are assumptions for objectives that are narrowly conceptually more damaging. One comparison culture, it is Afghanistan express interpretation became the policies that are lessons. One is a careful consideration that just for his assumption on the other is humility. Carter may be wrong intervention and avoid financial loss, be very how politics push in a direction tempered by opponents by that. Obama has been too weak on offers obvious parallel. No one has enough belief wisdom, maybe even Putin has not. No is reasonable to characterize objective as more local. Crimea can be seen as one-off given unusual circumstances. The rest of has to do with NATO expansionism, extend the Balkan, playing that on it means that we solve for deterrence and the RE scenario. Now the liberals themselves are letter Blair evidence says they won't translate to democracy, and the capital evidence says that the decline is violent lash out. The defunding counter plan, the defunding counter plan. First is the states would be able to fund it. Defunding does nothing. Solvency doesn't contextualize the state action. Congress does nothing to SPP. Zero impact to COP. They have no cards about this. Alaska can do it on their own. There's no federal dollars rallying to NG was successful in getting authorized, but no funds are allocated federal resources to support it. It was designed to dodge budget pressure, which is their only warrant. Williams as well as the nation confronts economic crisis. DOD face budget reduction despite of massive resources. The U.S. must meet challenges. Strategy will rely on how the BCP and SPP has done all of this. More SPP as an economic tool. They have conceded all of our defense to the rest of the counter plan. They status quo solves defunding. Congress has done it before recently on Haiti, Lebanon, and Vietnam and Cuba. If these don't spill over, neither will the plan. They've also seen that Congress fails in status quo politics, Trump's effectiveness, and that power is used on political witch hunts like Benghazi and VAS investigation, which means that they're unable to solve the permutation just to test competition, but all their answers prove that he'll be president in Congress, not everything else. Permutation do both just in case it solves any independent offense or cut about political costs about president, which is also relevant. The other counter plan, permutation do both to the new counter plan that solves Balkan deterrence, which solves all the impacts to the DDEV arguments because deterrence is high, prevents expansionism in the first place. Permutation do both solves everything, doesn't solve the China advantage. Our client evidence says that SPP is key because it will inevitably lead to involvement and expansion in the first place, which means doesn't solve it, also doesn't solve our Russia advantage. The carrier arguments was just one impact, which is irrelevant. The affirmative also exists, so it isn't an offense. Permutation do both, just in case I didn't say that. The shift counter plan, we have expressly conceded no China war. The only impact was China deterrence, so you don't have a net benefit. I'll get to the appropriation stuff later on in the first place. It doesn't solve any of the affirmative. It leads to Chinese encirclement. Arctic 7 card isn't just that. Presence results in which answers their double bind. It's that new presence is escalatory. I could expressly concede their Korpanovich evidence, which says that it would be expressly violent. Our internal link was also about a Mongolian emboldenment, not just control more broadly, which means the counter plan is net worse because it puts new presence in the region, which freaks China out extremely. We're not going for the permutation, just a testing competition. They can't go for topicality off of that because we aren't advocating it.
The Mediterranean counterplan, real quick.
I said that. The client I did it.
No, the Mediterranean
what about
counterplan. You need to extend withdrawal now funds every
I'm doing that here. I got it. DA, last DA. That's where I'm doing this. While you were so busy there, you can see that withdrawal is inevitable. It thumbs the appropriation to said Middle East. Cuts are coming after, and the plan thumb in bar 939 Obama state intent to reduce rest of the Middle East to pivot and cut expenditures, leaving fewer military assets to us and no carriers in the Gulf. Engagement signals weaknesses, in the region of reflection of the parts allies elsewhere may have to hedge your bets. Also, Europe bumps England. In 317, U.S. may be drawing down its overseas forces in Europe. The Air Force has reduced aircraft by 75% of Army close winter installations and is returning. 47 right now are underneath close station, and two facilities are continuing to reduce U.S. presence by another 15% throughout this decade. The tons of evidence says that it definitively thumbs it. REs turn the entirety. They just said it was about more than satellites. Our satellites card from Tungsten also says that they're key for military tracking and for war in the first place. The states avoid it. They do not have a card for the dissent. They have conceded the Dixon card, which is a link turn that says that if it's only possible, it would link. Their evidence might be about the SPP, but it's general, not specific to McCain or the Alaska program, which is independent. Their new card was about the Iran deal, and not everything else. States don't link. It's through the states, not tied to Congress. SPP is run by governors. The plan only requires Alaska to bail. It avoids backlash. States are rebel of their domestic radar. That gives cover. Robin for missing. State policies, anguish, rhetoric, that politicized national debate, and made in consensus exclusive state policies meant for political cover. States do it, Howard and for each, and she's probably going to say this, when not explicitly federalized governors remain complete control. State guard remain substantial authority. The governor remains also control and decide on participation, if any, in voluntary programs like the SPP. The counterplan also links to this because it would still decrease the SPP. It doesn't spill up, and it won't happen. Lowry and AD do policy attention to the state level influence Washington. We find little evidence. Agendas are sticky, change only per year with some difficulty. It's not clear the national policy agenda would respond to activity at the state level.
Do you finish counterpoint? Congress counterpoint?
What, the carrier counterplan,
Yeah.
then the defund counterplan?
Yep. Russia advantage. The acquisition DA. Offsets.
Sorry, can I get the first part of that over again?
Sure thing. Advantage counterplan. Congressional defunding counterplan. Russia advantage. And the acquisition DA and offsets. Alright. Is everybody ready?
Yep.
Great. Client evidence, it's your card. It says that the U.S. could just increase its support to Mongolia and prevents Mongolia from being emboldened. They don't have any evidence that says that a reduction is sufficient to solve, which means that we are the only ones that have a card in the debate that says that that explains the causal mechanisms by which Mongolia wouldn't lash out, which means we can solve the entirety of that advantage permutation of both links because it would solve Russia's economy. It would also cause internal fights because it would involve the U.S. reducing presence, which is linked to the defense return. Since they don't have a card for a solvency deficit for advantage 1, the Congress kind of plan not going forward. We'll see the Congress fails in fighting the Russian advantage. If you don't know the difference between an internal link and an impact turn, you are going to have a bad time. Russia's economic growth is not sustainable in the status quo. The fact that their growth is now bad forces them to reform themselves. Will force them to reform themselves in the short term, unless of course there's a change in course in which they suddenly can start growing. The plan leads to Russian economic growth in the short term for 3 reasons. That'll starve off any long-term reforms to cause them to liberalize or to cause regime change away from Putinism. The first is that it allows Russia to shift to the east in terms of energy because they get more dominance in Mongolia. By doing that, they can get a short-term spurt of economic growth. Second is we highlighted your own evidence that says that Russia's economy will start growing. That's said Ben in the 1 and C never really answered that well by the app. We do have a uniqueness argument. We said that Russia's in a crisis now, and unless things change and they start growing, then they're going to have to transition, which the affirmative prevents by giving them a short-term growth option. Which the third reason is that Russia needs to shift itself away from being a resource-dependent economy. Where they plan, obviously, these are a resource-dependent Russian economy because they start basing their growth strategy off of uranium, which is still basing economic growth on a raw material. All raw materials are terrible for Russia because they have an authoritarian system in which makes them incredibly prone to just disease, which means they have to liberalize in the long term. But the only way that they'll realize that authoritarian resource-dependent model doesn't work is if they start collapsing right now. The plan makes them think that they can keep on growing indefinitely. Now they can see the several impacts. First of all, is that short-term Russian economic decline makes Russia withdraw from the Donbass. That's a nuclear war between the U.S. and NATO. That's a nuclear war between U.S. and NATO going to happen in the square of the F also by increasing growth in the short term. The second thing is civil wars because if they don't liberalize then there's going to be conflict because people don't have enough access to private property, which obviously turns off their loose nuclear weapons, brain drain, iceberg development arguments because Russia's going to be totally disintegrated in the status quo. The collapse is going to happen in the long term is going to be worse than the crisis that happens now. We're the only ones that have evidence that qualitatively distinguishes between the two things, which means that the only chance of a hard landing is if you vote affirmative, which flips off their impacts back our way, and there'll be a soft landing and a good transition now because there are strong democratic forces in Russia that can lead to effective liberalization. We've read 2 Markov cards that says that when Russia's economy starts becoming more unstable, they are more likely to cooperate with the West, which solves other lash out and adventurism arguments. That is the blank card they read in the 1 and C. The new impact defense they read isn't allowed because you're the ones that read in Russian expansionism new Gordon impact to begin with, which we've been conceding since the beginning of the debate. Now also ask yourself if there's a new imperial Russia that's adventuring all around the Balkans. How in the hell are they going to be able to solve any of their arguments about Russia being a nice soft cooperator who is helping economic growth throughout the region? None of their arguments assume a Russia that embroils itself in foreign interventionist wars, which will be the same Russia that's deploying icebreakers and being peaceful, which means that the only path to a good Russian foreign policy is if you vote negative for their economy to largely transform, because otherwise they're just going to keep on doing trolly shit like everything that they've been doing in the Ukraine. Acquisition DA. It outweighs the app because, or actually, sure, is there another thing I wanted to say?
Did you do the advantage 2? Acquisition day.
Oh yeah, acquisition DA. The military needs to have defense acquisition in order to have a sustainable technological base that solves any war scenario from happening because the U.S. military be dominant. If the U.S. military be dominant in the long term, they say that they make all these thumper. They drop the impact, so I shouldn't have to do any more comparative impact calculus. The risk of the case is incredibly low because the counterplan is sufficient. Actually, I remember what I want to say in Russia. Sorry, go back to Russia. The Balkans argument. They don't have evidence that they don't. First of all, our adventurism argument spans outside of the Balkans because Russia can always adventure in other places. Like advantage counterplan, except the advantage counterplan that just increased PKOs there, which means that they don't have any net offense because we can stabilize the Balkans too, which means there's only risk of our link turns and also the civil war impact is external. Now, the acquisition DA. They don't have any evidence that the thumpers are going to cause fights between Carter and Obama, which then should hold them to an incredibly high threshold because we're the only ones that do compared to Flink explanation. The plan durably fiats that we have to take military presence out of Mongolia. That has been their argument the entire time. We've read evidence that the Secretary of Defense and the defense establishment wants to have presence in Mongolia, meaning that what's going to happen is Alaska will pull the plug. The defense establishment will tell Obama, for the love of God, put our presence back in Mongolia because we need to be there in order to have a strong regional footprint. And then Obama's not going to do it, which which is our link argument for why there's going to be fights between civilian and military authorities that makes it impossible for there to be cooperation between McCain and Secretary of Defense Carter, which totally decks an attempt at defense acquisition reform. You should have a very low threshold for the DA where they conceded the prioritization link that even if they win, that states take the blame. That doesn't matter because it's a sequence of questions. So the plan upsets negotiations. Second is they conceded that McCain loves keeping troops in Northeast Asia. Even if the bill doesn't pass his desk, he will still try to figure out what the heck is going on in Mongolia, which causes fights with the DoD. McCain will notice the plan. GAO 12, the Honorable John McCain, ranking member of the Service Committee, Armed Services National Guard, State Partnership Program, helps to improve relations and help their defense establishment. The dissent also turns the case because if we don't have an effective military, we can't de-escalate any of the hotspots in the 1AC. The office's counterplan. I don't need to win the China impact because the counterplan just obviously solves the affirmative. We can repurpose the state partnership program to be in military bases throughout the rest of Northeast Asia, excluding Mongolia. Now they do not have a solvency deficit. Out of these advantages, and the status quo is always a logical option, which is then the 2NC, which means you can kick the counterplan for me. That's a good model because the 2AR should have to be tested against multiple wars. They didn't include a conditionality pattern agreement with the 1AR, and I flagged it explicitly in the block, which means that the 1AR should have had that argument. Now the only way they could beat this counterplan is if they win their quote-unquote logic permutation, which by the way is just an intrinsic permutation. This topic is going to totally suck for the rest of the NDT if the affirmative is to make incredibly small minute changes, and we don't get to have the offset, and we don't get to have the offsets counterplan compete. The resolution says regions for a reason. The reason why we picked regions instead of countries as a community is we wanted to debate the grand strategy of the U.S., not minor tactical changes. The affirmative results in minor tactical changes make it impossible to be negative because the Afghans' infinite prep, they can solidify that advantage. When they make a small tactical change, they always have more specific evidence, and we did a specific link about every single acquisition program, which means that the affirmative is always a step ahead. Yes.
They say that the plan doesn't solve because it increases SVP, not true, and we solve the impact.
Yeah, we don't increase SVP, we decrease SVP in Mongolia, which is the internal link to all of the 1AC advantages. Now our model is better. Our model is better because regional debate is key to locking into debates about grand strategy, which are sustainable over the long term, which is proven by the fact there are new journal articles about everything every single week involving the topic areas.
3:30. I emailed about this already.
Can I see the link to the Russia DA that you've highlighted?
Yeah, it's on paper.
Wait, is it transporting oil and gas to thermal power stations across Russia is logistically difficult and expensive, which makes exporting them even more cost effective and beneficial to the economy?
Yeah,
It's just that part?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
offsets counterplan, and then the acquisition DA. Where's my oh, there's my timer. Russia, advantage counterplan, offsets counterplan, acquisition DA. Is everyone good? Oh, I have more than 60 seconds, thank God. No, this is not internal link term. You conceded Russia-Japan war. It's independent of the rest of the affirmative. It's not based on uranium conflict. It's based on forcing Japan to cede their claims to the Kuril Islands, which has nothing to do with Japan, with Russian growth. Only by locking in uranium stocks does Japan feel like they have to give up their resources to Russia because they don't have anything backing them up. That tells a lineage of existential impacts through relation, but it also says Kuril war, which is coming now, the UNR, and well, it's the entire rest of the negative in this debate has never answered this impact. It's existential. We at least have some chance of defense on theirs. They have never had any inked on this impact, and it always all of their arguments. You can only die once, or evidence says it is coming now. They have no time frame distinctions as to why their impacts outweigh any of ours. So live to fight another day by fighting affirmative now. The link, there isn't one. Their double drop resiliency means that there is no collapse. Their economy has empirically been able to rebuild. Oil prices have totally tanked, and their economy still isn't done so. Why is the plan the thing that is sufficient to build up their economy when they're totally reliant on oil right now? The entire purpose of our argument is that we trade off with their focus on oil and stuff because they want to shift to nuclear power, which is not a finite resource. All of their stuff about Dutch disease and being based on a finite economy is that the thesis that them having to sell oil and them having to sell natural gas is bad because that thing that's dependent on, because it makes that's like what their sales are dependent on. We're not saying Russia needs to sell nuclear power so it doesn't overcome that war. So if collapse is inevitable from Dutch disease and the plan is not sufficient to change that, the best chance in a link they have is a line that says transporting oil and gas to thermal power stations across Russia is logistically difficult and expensive, which makes exporting them even more cost effective and beneficial to the economy. If you think that that is going to save their economy from the collapse that they have claimed, then you are fucking ridiculous, and I don't want to see any of you ever again. They said shift to the east. Our entire advantage is that they do so peacefully because Mongolia would give them uranium so they don't have to do the fights that they are doing. Their re-highlighting is absolutely trash. I just have to say it again. They say resource dependence, Dutch disease is about domestic production. Our argument is that they inevitably see coal and uranium. The plan just means that they have a stable stream. There's a huge China solvency deficit to offsets freaks them out. Oh, sorry, wait, I'll get that later. There's no impact of Russian aggression to Balkans linked to withdrawal from Mongolia means that they would go there. The only blocking answer was the advantage counterplan is irrelevant because it means that the plan or the counterplan selves determine the presence and it's a deterrent effect which blocks lash out regardless of economic conditions. To a general defense or polar evidence says that there's no motive for aggression generally, which they have conceded. Also adds that there are means because Putin is worried about approval ratings and backlash. They say they could be aggressive somewhere else, but the U.S. being right on their backs in the Balkans is sufficient enough to mean that they wouldn't want to lash out anymore because they're too afraid of the United States. Now, the advantage counterplan, it doesn't solve NATO or Russia. It doesn't solve NATO. Both are based on FPP, not further military relations. China feels like they are being encircled by NATO from U.S. presence in Mongolia, which means that they don't have any proper relations. They've conceded that causes Mediterranean gas conflicts, which go nuclear, causes World War III. That's a Jacobs evidence. Independently, relations solve a slew of existential threats like the environment and other wars throughout the region in Northeast Asia as well as other places, and they have not answered this. The 2NR and the 2NC are all the shit cannon effective. Let's just go for as much as possible, but they're not answering the nuance of our arguments, which is why you should highly err affirmative. It doesn't solve our China advantage. Leaving FPP makes it structurally inevitable that others areas building Mongolian defense capacity or creating perception of a de facto U.S. alliance clients is expanding now, and the FPP makes it inevitable. That's the Trestle and Addington evidence. The thesis of their circumvention arguments was that Obama really loves presence, so as long as they keep presence in Mongolia, that means that we won't end arms sales. Just means that we'll do some other stuff with Mongolia that will still be sufficient to cause the impact. They've had no impact even since the entire debate. Yeah, I don't have to reinvent the wheels. RE satellites and IBAR crackdown cause extinction has a fast time frame because it's coming right now, which means you should err affirmative. The offsets counterplan. Wow. We didn't extend a perm, so I don't know what the fucking point of this is. We extended one argument here, and that is a solvency deficit. There's a huge China one to offsets. It freaks them out because they put a ton of missiles in there. We didn't extend the permutation for a reason. They put a whole bunch of missile bases right around China. And then they're like, yeah, that won't make Mongolia feel safe. Of course it will, because we would tell Mongolia, we're leaving SPP, but don't worry, we're gonna give you all this fucking missile defense to threaten China.
I forgot to say this. That means there's an interlink between Africa and Mongolia, but no deterrence DA.
Yes, there's also no deterrence DA because they didn't extend it, also because there's no China war that would ever happen, so it makes no sense. Independently, the offsets counter plan, like, it just doesn't solve. The 2NR is so short on this, they have no impact explanation on the acquisition DA, and the acquisition DA is so zero that you should err affirmative on presumption.
One last thing, they said the only answer was it doesn't impact SPP, but it was about general Chinese
Yeah,
perceptions.
they said we don't increase SPP presence, we said that's fine.
And
our evidence is a general turn to that says increased presence would be bad.
And we conceded their Kropotkovich evidence, which is like it
Yeah,
freaks out China.
and we conceded their Kropotkovich evidence, which says it freaks out China, which means NATO-China relations are impossible because they still feel boxed in, even if it solves the rest of our IMAR separatism stuff. The acquisition DA, once again, you've conceded withdrawals in Neville. The US is withdrawing from a bunch of spots, which means McCain anger is in Neville, and the DA is entirely in Neville. RE's internal link term the entirety of this. We cannot have a proper tech sector if we don't have REs. China, the inner Mongolian, the IMAR region is 95% of the entirety of the region. Their only argument is that the Secretary of Defense doesn't want the plan. Their only argument for this is the Klein 14 evidence, where it just says that Hagel went there. It doesn't say that he loves Mongolia. We've read 2 pieces of evidence that says that the Secretary of Defense loves decreasing presence, which means we're not sufficient to cause a fight. Look, if you're confused and you're like, there's a fuck ton going on, you should err affirmative because the negative did this. The negative extended too much. This is their fault. This is their fucking fault.